The synthesizers I gravitate towards, and the reason why I love synths and hardware, even though you could technically do everything with a plugin, is because of how inspiring it is to just like live create sounds in the moment that perfectly fit a track. Desert Island Synth, I feel like it's probably pretty predictable for most people, but I would say probably the OB6. The thing that I love about Oberheim synthesizers is the fizziness of the filters paired with the wildness of the oscillators. I use Logic. But some of the people I work with use Ableton, and they're always trying to get me to switch. So I can use Ableton pretty well, but Logic is just, it's just comfort, it's home for me. So my long-term goal is to compose music for video games.
For people like me who only knows you from YouTube,
Yeah.
it's just only one side of the whole story, right? So,
Sure, yeah.
So if you can tell something about yourself, where you come from, your music background, anything like that.
Yeah, for sure, Paul. So, yeah, you might know me from YouTube, Devin Belanger Music, but I grew up in a very musical family, but not an electronic music family. My dad is a working jazz musician in Vancouver. He's almost retired now, but he's played jazz drums as a session musician. Sarah McLachlan, all the way to, local Latin and jazz bands in the city. So I grew up kind of learning violin of all things and drums and acoustic instruments. I was allowed to change instruments, but the rule in my household was I had to always be learning an instrument. So I can play most things okay, but not an expert at any, which is why my synthesizer and piano technique is pretty bad, but I can still play it okay. So yeah, and then from there I got into playing in metal bands, and then also into producing electronic music because I was sick of relying on bandmates who didn't show up. And then I got into producing electronic music back in 2009, where it wasn't as popular. 2010 or so, yeah, 2010, when it wasn't as popular in North America. This was before the big EDM boom of Skrillex. So I started teaching myself how to make electronic music based off of actually early trance, stuff like Paul Oakenfold and Tiesto in Search for Sunrise. And then from there, I really got into electronic dance music, where I started producing as Miles Away. And that was my life for a long time until I discovered analog synthesizers, and the rest is history, where now I have the channel. And also I still do a lot of production work for other clients in the EDM scene, in some video game and trailer stuff. But anything to do with synthesizers now is kind of my world. So,
okay.
Yeah.
So money-wise, your main source of income is still music production, right?
Yeah, still music production, and also a fun fact, I had a random viral hit song about 5 years ago called Bring Me Back, which was very strange. It literally went completely viral I wish I could say I did something or have advice for people, but completely just accidentally went viral around the world. So that's probably the thing that most people know me for, even if they don't know that I made it. So.
Yeah, I think what really makes your YouTube channel stand out is that you don't only showcase the products, but you always bring melody to it. So that's your background.
Thank you.
Is it music production?
Yes.
Which DAW are you using? Ableton or?
I use Logic. But some of the people I work with use Ableton, and they're always trying to get me to switch. So I can use Ableton pretty well, but Logic is just comfort. It's home for me. So anytime I do a demo track for the channel, I usually do all of the sequencing with USB MIDI from Logic, which works really well if you are okay with using a laptop. Honestly, the way that DAWs work with hardware synthesizers is so good, and that's why I don't cover a lot of sequencers on the channel. So.
Yeah, because it's very quick. I know DAWless is fancy because you don't have a screen, but still it's easier,
I'm not about that. Yeah, I think for me, at the end of the day, the synthesizers I gravitate towards, and the reason why I love synths and hardware, even though you could technically do everything with a plugin, is because of how inspiring it is to just live create sounds in the moment that perfectly fit a track. The inspiration of playing things in with keys while tweaking filters. And for me, I just like things that reduce the friction. So for the DAW, for example, I don't really love doing a lot of sound design in the DAW, but I love sequencing in the DAW because then I can just have a project and have my hardware synths, and the way the two work together is really great. So
once you have a great sequence in your DAW, then you can tweak around with the sounds.
Yeah,
right?
exactly.
You don't need to focus on melody, but you can on sound engineering, right?
Exactly. And then as soon as you like where it's going, and if you have, you can buy them for $20, like a USB hub on Amazon. It doesn't matter what brand, but if you have USB 1, 2, 3, 4, and then you plug it into your computer, you can sequence 4 synths or 3 synths in a drum machine all inside the DAW. And then as soon as you're basically basically getting the benefit of DAWless, where you're creating music in real time with hardware, but then as soon as you're ready, you just click record on each track or all at the same time, and you can perform it live, and there you go. You're 75% towards a completed track at the end. So.
I have a cliche question to you. Your Desert Island synth.
Desert Island synth, I feel like it's probably pretty predictable for most people, but I would say probably the OB6. I know that like right now I use the Prophet 10 the most, and if I'm talking software like Serum 2 will always be my favorite most used synth. Yeah. But something about the OB6, I think it's because it was the first hardware synthesizer that I really clicked with, and like it also really helped my channel get to where it is. And I actually brought the OB6 across the country to play a show last year, so it's kind of like my sidekick. It works well.
Oh, brilliant. So Moog is, Oberheim is high on your list.
Yeah, I love Oberheim. The sound of the filters are amazing. So,
like a gritty, probably something the closest to Roland Juno, no?
No, not quite. I think the thing that I love about Oberheim synthesizers is the fizziness of the filters paired with the wildness of the oscillators. It creates a really sort of sound that is in between happiness and sadness, which is like, if it's cliche to say, but whether it's music for the channel or music for miles away or music for like composing, I just love music that is in that in-between zone between happiness and sadness, and Oberheim to me is the sound that gets closest to that.
Okay, so we can say if it's happy, it depends on who is listening, right?
Exactly, yeah, exactly. And I think that's always some of the most interesting music, when there's like, it's up for interpretation. It's not just like, this is obviously a really happy song, or this is obviously a really sad song.
So you said that the fizziness of the filter with the...
Yeah, I like...
With the what oscillator?
Just the fact that Oberheim synthesizers, we're getting kind of nerdy here, but like they have a 2-pole filter that is variable. So you're able to get more of the high frequencies in, but it's never harsh high frequencies. Even if you crank the resonance, it's very musical. So it's delicate, but still has brightness and a bit of like fizz and wiriness. And then you pair that with the fact that pretty much every Oberheim, even the new TO5, the oscillators being voltage controlled oscillators are much more unstable. That combination to me, it just feels like very nostalgic and melancholic.
We don't want ideal, right? That's why we have randomizers.
Exactly. Right? Yeah. That was what hooked me on the OB6, is I just was playing the same patches I would normally play, and I was like, this just sounds imperfect and so beautiful. So. Okay.
You know, usually when we talk like synthesizer, they put a lot of features, but at the end of the day, it's about emotional connection, how you engage with it.
Totally.
Any synth in the last year that really surprised you?
A couple. So for the purely sound of it, I really liked the Brie 6 from GS Music. It's so simple, and it's not a good synth for sound design, but it has just that sound like we were talking about, where it just sounds right and it evokes emotion, and I think that that's really important. And then also for a big surprise for me was the Redshift 6 from Supercritical. I wasn't expecting to like that synth that much when they reached out and they're like, hey, do you want to check it out? But the workflow and the versatility, they're very intuitive, and it sounds so good, and it does a lot of ingenious things with the filters and oscillators to be able to sound like many different synthesizers but still be analog. That's a really cool synthesizer, and I'm excited to see, once more people check it out.
Okay, anything on the horizon you are waiting for, or you want to put your hands on? You mentioned Magnolia, right?
Yeah, I haven't checked it out yet at the conference, but I'm very excited to check out the Frap Tools Magnolia. I'll be doing my best to either get a loaner or buy one from them or something to do on video for the channel, because that synthesizer feels very innovative. Also, now that I understand the Domino more, I got a great demo from the guys at UDO, and I think that's a really exciting synthesizer too. And also the Mo4 Econ 6 looks really cool. It's like a Bucket Brigade delay car plus strong synthesizer. That sounds really cool too.
Okay. What is so surprising on Magnolia? It's not just another analog synth, right?
No, yeah, it uses a concept called through zero FM, which is a very musical type of FM where I'm not going to get the exact details right, but essentially the result is that the pitch stays the same. So you're able to essentially shape the tone without messing up your ability to play chords and chromatic scales. And I think this is the first time that I've seen that concept used as the main engine for a knob per function large flagship synthesizer. So it's really innovative, and I think that it's cool when manufacturers are trying new things, whether or not they always work, but this one seems like it's working.
You are the first time at the Superbooth. You flew from Vancouver, so a pretty long flight.
Yes.
How do you like the event, anticipation versus reality?
Oh, it's amazing. It's really cool. I think that the thing I was the most surprised about is just how much of a low-key like hangout, it feels like even whether you're taking meetings or just wandering around and running into people you know, it feels a lot more like just hanging out with a big group of friends than it does feeling like being at a conference or a meeting or something like that. So I really like it, and the venue is beautiful with like the park and stuff. It's great. Hopefully we get a little bit of sun, but
yeah,
that's the only complaint. Yeah.
Yeah, at least it's not raining.
At least it's not raining.
Yeah, yeah. I think I feel like a teenager here again.
Yeah,
you
totally.
Know,
Yeah,
like
it's
hanging
exactly
around, listening to the music, eating outdoors. Last question about where you see yourself in 3 to 5 years, like on an interview for a job. But with your channel growing, miles away, then your last album on Bandcamp, it was under your own name, right?
Yeah.
So where do you see yourself as a musician in 3 to 5 years?
Yeah, no, great question. I mean, like, I think I will always love lots of different sides of music. I'm the kind of person who I get bored if I'm only doing one thing. So I'm definitely going to keep going with YouTube because I love synthesizers, I love music education, but my long-term goal is to compose music for video games. I'm a very big fan of video games, RPGs. I've loved video games since I was a kid, and that's something I haven't had the opportunity to do too much of yet. I've done a little bit of sound design for games and a little bit of video game trailers, but hopefully in the next 3-4 years, I'll be able to say I've composed, along with continuing Miles Away and the Synth channel, I'll be able to say I've composed music for a full-length video game. That's a goal, so.
Brilliant. I wish it happened, so
thank you.
Thank you for your time.
Thanks, Paul. Appreciate it, man. Yeah, cool.